So let's talk about that feeling. You know, the one, you meet someone new, the chemistry is absolutely electric, and you think, this is it. But then a few months down the road, you realize you're not in a new relationship, you're in a remake. And the leading man looks an awful lot like your emotionally distant dad, or maybe your super critical mom. We're going to get into why we keep choosing partners who are just, well, wrong for us.
Right? It's probably one of the biggest complaints in dating, period. You're consciously looking for someone who's kind and stable, but you keep getting drawn to the charmingly chaotic type, or the person who's mysteriously unavailable, or the one who just needs a little fixing. It's so easy to feel like you're just cursed with terrible taste.
But here's the thing, and this is the good news. Your brain isn't broken. You're not doomed, I promise. Your nervous system is just running on some really old, outdated software, a map that was drawn when you were way too young to even hold the pen. So today, we're going to take a look at that old map, figure out why your internal GPS keeps leading you down the same wrong road, and talk about how you can finally update the system.
Okay, first things first. We've got to understand the basic programming that's running this whole show in the background. And we can call this your inner blueprint. Think about it. When your brain was still developing, it was basically taking furious notes on everything, especially what connection felt like. So if love for you came with a side of anxiety or inconsistency, or if it was something you had to earn, your brain just logged that. It didn't put a label on it that said unhealthy, it just slapped a label on it that said love. And that blueprint becomes the unconscious definition you carry into every relationship from then on. And this is where a really critical survival instinct kicks in. See, your brain's number one job isn't actually to make you happy. Its number one job is to keep you alive. And for a brain that's focused on survival, what's predictable is always safer than what's unpredictable. So even if familiar means drama or criticism or even feeling abandoned, your brain kind of prefers it because it knows the script. It knows how to survive that particular flavor of pain. But a genuinely safe, calm person, whoa, that's totally new territory. And on your old map, that new territory is marked with, "Here be dragons."
And that right there, that's the spark of attraction. You meet someone, they trigger those old feelings, and your subconscious just lights up with this sense of recognition. It's not a conscious thought, of course. It's that deep, gut-level feeling of, wow, this feels so right. But what you're actually recognizing isn't a soulmate. It's a familiar dynamic that your nervous system was trained to deal with years and years ago.
Okay, but wait, it gets even more complicated. Because sometimes we're not just looking for something familiar. Sometimes what we're really looking for is a very specific kind of fight. This brings us to a really fascinating psychological idea called reactance. Basically, we are all hardwired to protect our own autonomy. So when we feel like our freedom is being threatened or someone's trying to control us, our brain has this immediate, powerful instinct to just push back and do the exact opposite. It's the reason a wet paint sign makes you want to touch the wall, you know? Or why a forbidden cookie suddenly becomes the most delicious looking thing in the entire world. So, how does this play out in our relationships? Well, if your childhood blueprint for love involved having to fight for your own independence against a bunch of controlling rules, you might subconsciously seek out partners who recreate that exact dynamic. You end up choosing someone controlling not because you actually want to be controlled, but because you crave that familiar, empowering feeling of rebelling against them. The fight for your freedom becomes the very thing that makes you feel alive and connected, because it's the only script your brain knows. So we've got our old blueprint, and we've got this rebellious streak. Now, let's add the third piece of the puzzle, this quieter force that locks it all in place. Simple, powerful, unconscious habits. Get this, according to some pretty big research, nearly half, 45% of everything we do in a day isn't a conscious choice. It's just a habit. Almost half our actions are driven by the brain's autopilot system, which is just trying to save energy by repeating patterns it already knows. And that absolutely 100% includes how we choose our partners. And this sets up this huge internal conflict. You've got your conscious mind, let's call it the pilot, at the controls saying, I want peace, I want stability, I want kindness. But at the same time, your autopilot, that deeply ingrained habit center of your brain, is scanning the room for what it recognizes. It's been trained to spot those tiny cues of emotional unavailability or that specific flavor of drama that feels like home. It's not being malicious, it's just being efficient at running its old program. And this is exactly why the nice, stable person so often gets overlooked. For a nervous system that's been wired for this high-stakes emotional obstacle course, genuine, unconditional acceptance can just feel weird. It's not just boring, it can actually feel suspicious, like that unsettling quiet before a big storm. Your brain is in the background going, okay, where's the catch? This is way too easy. Something has to be wrong here. So that's the setup. It's this powerful mix of your childhood blueprint, your rebellious streak, and pure habit. But here's the thing. You are not just a passenger on this ride. The amazing news is that once you can actually see the script, you can start to hack it. So how do we actually do that? Well, here are 3 steps you can take. First, become a detective of your own patterns. When you feel that intense, I've known you forever kind of spark with someone new, just pause. Ask yourself, what is this feeling really? That intensity? That's data. It's your pattern recognition system flagging a familiar old dynamic. Second, use external processing. Talk about what you're feeling out loud, to a friend, a therapist, even just into your phone's voice memos. When you say a thought out loud, you move it from the chaotic, emotional part of your brain to the logical, problem-solving part. It puts your pilot back in control. And third, dare to choose boring. Give the person who doesn't create immediate fireworks a real chance. It takes time and repetition for your brain to build new pathways and actually learn that safe can feel really, really good.
So if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. You are not broken. You do not have bad taste in people. Your nervous system has just been trying its best to protect you, using the only map it's ever been given. It's actually a very loyal, very dedicated system that's just running an outdated operating system.
And really understanding that changes everything. It shifts you from being a passenger, helplessly watching the same crash happen over and over again, to being the pilot. Suddenly, you can see the old flight plan, you can understand why it was created, and you can consciously, finally, choose to chart a new course. So the real question becomes, are you ready to thank that old map for getting you this far, and then gently put it away and start drawing a new one? These hidden scripts don't just run our love lives. They influence our careers, our finances, even the way we decorate our homes. So if you want to keep exploring how to hack your own internal programming, make sure you subscribe for more. Thanks for tuning in.